Good evening, good evening. This is DoQuoi, the Duke Green, and I greet you in the precious name of Jesus. I just wanted to make a quick video here. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, but I want to make this video for you to share a few things with you for those who are dating and waiting, or just waiting in general to meet the one that God has for you. And I understand that it's a journey, it's a jungle out there. Some of you've been out there, and now you're getting back out there, and you realize that some things have changed when it comes to dating, etc. But I just wanted to encourage you on this journey towards the one, because at the end of the day, you're on a journey toward the one, regardless of how many knockoffs the enemy may send. You still have to remain faithful and don't give up. Don't be discouraged by what you see. Don't fall for the doom and gloom messages about relationships, etc. Because all you need is one. It doesn't matter what the statistics say, because all you need is one. God has your one for you. Okay, so understand that. And I know on this journey, you've met some people, you've heard different people. You might have some friends who are trying to hook you up or telling you certain advice that may not necessarily be the best advice. So at the end of the day, you just have to understand that while you're on this journey towards the one, while you're waiting, there's just a couple things that you need to keep in mind. The first thing, I'll just share 2 points with you. The first thing is never assume. My golden rule of dating is never assume. Don't assume. Don't be trying to fill in the blanks. If they didn't say they're interested, don't assume. If they didn't say this or that, don't be trying to fill in the blanks. So don't assume. Stop trying to assume things, because that's going to get you in trouble. And again, people can say something, but their actions need to back it up. Some of you have been falling for people who they say it, but yet they never back it up. But you keep making excuses for them. Okay, so stop making excuses for people who can't put in the time that's necessary to prove that even worth your time, that they can't even follow through with your word. Because again, in every relationship, you need consistency. It should be consistent. Where's the consistency? So you talking about early in the game, and they're already not being consistent early in the game, and they're already not keeping their word. So again, if you're dating someone or getting to know someone, that's the easy part. That's the part when they should be at their best, on their best behavior. So again, if you're already seeing red flags along the way, don't ignore it. Don't pretend like it doesn't exist because you afraid you might lose this person. I hear people all the time, I don't want to run him off. I don't want to run a man off, etc. What are you talking about running a man off? Okay, if he's the one, then he's the one, and he's going to put in the time, the effort. The key is that you do your part, he does his part, and all the pieces will come together. So again, the first thing is my golden rule of dating: never assume. Never assume. If they don't say it, and show it. So again, their words need to be backed by their actions. So again, never assume. Stop assuming. Stop trying to fill in blanks, okay? Because all the time you try to fill in blanks, you'll be filling in something that you're making up, but it's not really what they're feeling or what they're thinking. So again, don't fill in the blanks and stop trying to assume. And the second thing, after not assuming, look, if a man is interested in a woman, he will pursue. Simple as that. I don't care, you making excuses. Oh, well, he's kind of shy. I got to help him out, etc., etc. No, you don't need to help a man out to be a man, because if you're already helping him out now, then now you're going to create some codependency. You're going to create a crutch. Okay, a man does not need help, and whatever he wants, whatever a man wants, I don't care how shy he is, he will get the courage to say something. He will get the courage to approach you. If he's interested, he will get the courage to do certain things. So you don't want a man who's got a weak backbone. Okay, he's supposed to be the leader, the head of the household at some point. So he needs to be able to lead. He needs to take charge, because again, the word says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor with the Lord. So I know the journey seemed long for some of you, and some of you feel like you're racing against the clock. Look, it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. You're not racing against the clock. You're saying your biological clock is ticking. I understand all of that, but again, whose time are you on? Are you on your time or God's time? Because last time I checked, God's time supersedes our time. So he knows what he's doing. He's got it under control. It's his time. So therefore, you're right on schedule. So stop putting all this pressure on yourself. I know you want the one, but guess what? God placed a desire in you. I say it all the time, marriage was God's idea. He placed a desire in you. He placed the desire in you to long for the one that he has for you. So therefore, continue to do what you do. Continue to be faithful. Continue to carry out your assignment, your God-given assignment, because we all have assignments that we need to be carrying out right now. Okay? And look, and it goes from steps. You carrying out certain individual assignments And then marriage is an assignment. Marriage itself is an assignment. There's an assignment that you have individually, and there's an assignment that you and your spouse will have corporately, collectively together. So again, marriage is an assignment, okay? So marriage is not a destination. It's an ongoing thing. Marriage is not a destination. Okay, so when you get there, that's when everything really begins. Okay, so stop beating yourself up. Stop thinking something's wrong with you. You know, especially in this season that we're in. Again, we're going to see a lot of marriage ministry teams being birthed out. A lot of power teams that are coming together for the kingdom of God, because God has need of you. God has need of you and the one that He's bringing together, so you can do certain things in His kingdom because of the time that we're in right now. So be encouraged, be excited. But again, understand you're not desperate. You're not in need so much as far as I gotta have a man or your man, I gotta have a woman, etc. No, you need what God has for you. Okay, so stop settling, stop making excuses and falling into these little traps and trying to make something work that God never intended for it to work, that you know it's not going to work. You making excuses for it already. If you already starting to date someone, you get to know someone, and you already making excuses, that's a red flag. You need to open your eyes real quick, because it makes no sense to have to make excuses for someone this early in the game. So stop with the excuses. Hear me again. Stop with the excuses. Okay, so again, the one that God has for you, it'll be a perfect fit here. And it doesn't mean that everything will be perfect, but everything will begin to fall into place. And again, when we talk about love, if you want to know, how do I know I've met the one? One way to notice when you talk about God's love, because at the end of the day, God is going to love you through them. I say it all the time. So God's going to love you through the one. So therefore, if you understand God's love, if you don't understand God's love, if you don't have a relationship with God, then it's going to be very difficult to truly see who the one is, or to understand, or even to appreciate that love. So you need to first know God's love. When you know God's love for you, trust me, that changes the game. Because now if you know God's love for you, then you'll never fall for another knockoff again. Because you recognize, I know God's love. That ain't it. That's not God's love. Because I know I know how I feel. I know what comes out of me. I know how it changed me. God's love changed me, because He loved me in spite of me. He loved me in spite of my mistakes, my faults, etc. So therefore, if I understand God's love, if you understand God's love, I assure you that when you meet the one, you recognize, number one, okay, wow, I sense God's love. I see God's love in them. Because again, God's going to love you through the one in a way you've never been loved before. So you may have said, I had a great relationship and I loved him and I was in love, etc. But when you get to the one, it will be a love that you have never experienced before. And I say it all the time. Just, you could have been with a great person. Okay, you can say, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. Just because it's the best thing that's ever happened to you, don't mean it's the best thing that will happen to you. And some folks have settled for less than what God had. So at the end of the day, when you find the one finds you, etc., it will be God's love in them, and God will love you in a new way through them that you never experienced before, and vice versa. The love that in you, God's love in you, will love the one in ways that they never been loved before. So that's real love. That's God's type of love. Because guess what? Marriage is God's idea. That was God's creation. God came up with it. God put that desire in your heart. God put that longing in your heart for the one. So while you're dating and waiting, again, don't assume. And if a man is interested in you, he will pursue. You don't need to help him pursue. You don't need to try to position yourself to help him pursue. You don't need to make excuses for why a man is not doing it, not doing that, why they're not following through with their word, why they're not being consistent. Consistency is key. They should say what they do and do what they say. So at the end of the day, while you're waiting and dating, I just wanted to drop this quick note with you. While you're waiting and dating, know who you are. Know who God's love is. If you know God's love, you will not settle for a knockoff, and a knockoff won't be able to stay around long, because your standards will run them away, because the God's love in you will run them away. Okay, so again, be faithful, remain confident, knowing that God has this thing worked out. Don't grow weary in well doing. Don't be discouraged. Don't get upset because it feels like it took forever. And I know some of you are saying, oh, well, so and so, they done got a man, and I know they're not living right. That's none of your business. That's between them and God. You trying to get to the right one. So therefore, as long as you're faithful, God's holding you accountable for what you do, for carrying out your assignment. So what's your assignment today? What does God have you to do today while you wait for the one? That's what you need to focus on. Focus on your assignment now, because again, marriage is just another assignment. That'll just be a new assignment. But you have to complete this assignment to get to the next assignment, to get to the next assignment, which will eventually be marriage. So God has the thing under control. Don't stop praying. Don't stop interceding for the one, even though you may not even know who they are now. Don't stop praying. Because look, God's got this thing covered. You're right on schedule. Hear me clearly. You're right on schedule. I'm going to say it again. You are right on schedule. So just keep that in mind. Be encouraged in the Lord. And look, again, as I said, marriage was God's idea, and he had you in mind. So this is DoQuoi, the Duke Green, signing off. See you soon. God bless you. Have a smile upon you.